Okay, so this is a tape measure. I'm sure you've all seen these before, but there's a couple things to keep in mind. One is that if you look closely here, this little hook at the end slides back and forth like this. The reason for that is that you can measure something either like this, where you see you pushing against something like a window frame or something like that, and then over here, that's going to give you the measurement. Let's find something a little better for that. So let's say I'm doing a window frame on the inside, like this. If I look over here and I push, so look at that, right? Push. Then over here I've got 19 and a half, right? Close enough. Now if I'm measuring something from end to end, I can pull like that, right? So instead of pushing, I'm pulling. And then that gives me also an accurate measurement from that distance, and that'll also give me 19 and a half, or close to it. Okay? So that's the thing to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is that it's got this concave shape, and that means I can hold it like this and it'll stay out straight. And that's going to be useful later, and you'll see why. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is look at each facade of this building and do a quick sketch of it. So I'll stand back a little bit and just do something really simple. So there's the ground, there's that wall over there, it's kind of a roof thing, like so. There's this shape, like that, down over there. Roof comes out over the side. It looks like there's a flat part right there, and then it sort of swoops off, and then this. And then we got two windows over here with a little pediment on top, two of those next to each other. Then there's an arch opening here, and that's going to be in the middle of this thing, so that'll be like this. And then there's an arch right there, and then I can see it sort of cuts in on those sides, so I'll do another one. It's an orthographic projection, right? So then I got this, and there's two doors right there, and there's a window up top. And then over on the side I've got these two, there's some mechanical stuff over there. Okay, so that's, I'll call this A. So now that I've got my sketch of each facade, I'm just going to start there, and then I'll measure all these parts and mark them down. So first I'm going to get this part right here, and I'll just go from there to there, right? Call that 18 inches, if you can see that. And I'm just going to roughly mark this stuff out. 18. And you'll notice I'm going to do all this stuff in inches. Right? So that's going to be, call that 34 and a half. 34 and 1/2. Then over here to this part, call that 9. 9 inches. I'm going to skip over here because we got some stuff in the way right there. I'll call that 14 over here. So from the edge of that window to this wall, 14. Width of the window will be 38. 38. That's a 4-pane window. And I didn't draw that first, so I'm just going to make a note. 4-pane. I'll do the same thing over here. 42 and a half. 42.5. That window is 38. And then this one is 29. Okay, so I got a bunch of dimensions there. So before I go any further, I need a floor plan I can measure off of to get all the overall dimensions. You'll notice I started with the facades, and it doesn't really matter. You could kind of go either way, but I'm just gonna take a look at this real quick and just remember what I was doing here. So yeah, so basically the plan is something like this. So if this is A over here, call that A, I've got this and this, and there's like these two little things here, like that. Okay, so what the first thing I'm gonna do is get overall dimensions here. Right? Actually, smarter way to do that is like this. Put it here. And this is just the overall stuff. I know there's some other things going on. There's an entry there and here. But it's okay. We're just going to talk about the overall stuff right now. So there's that and this, and these are my lead-ins for dimensions here. There's going to be nested stuff inside that. For now, we're just going to pull them all the way out, and we'll get overalls for all of these. Okay, so I've got my floor plan, right? And I'm going to get the overall dimensions for all these things, okay? So I've already got the big stuff here. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my little other features, which are like this. That's the doorway right there. And then over there, I know I've got a couple windows. So those will be here and here. And I might need to mark those later, but for right now, I'm just getting the big overall stuff. So I'll get this section of the wall right here, and that is 61 inches. I'm just going to do this, 61. Then here, they got the door held open, so I'll do it over the top. Actually, let's do it down low like this to get out of the way of this stuff. So I'm going to go over there. And I can see through here, I'm getting close, right, to right there. So like that, and that'll give me the whole width of this little doorway right here. And that's 90. Make sure we're getting over there. Call it 91. Close enough. That'll be 91. Then I'm gonna try to get this whole thing, I probably can. I'll hook it like that. Pull it over. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries. And that is 163. And we're just gonna add those up to get that full dimension. And I'll keep doing that around the rest of the building. All right. So now that I've got my floor plan all marked out for the overall dimensions and everything, and also the windows, I can sum this stuff up, right? I can add it to get all the correct dimensions for all these things. And combination of that and notes is going to give me what I need. So to get the elevational dimensions, I'm going to go to my sketches I did with the elevations here and just get some vertical dimensions, right? So I'll do one row like this, and get all of those. So I'll start with this one. And I can also make a note while I'm doing this of where that, that material changes. Now this is a nice tape measure, so I've got a magnet down there on that little hook. So I'll go up to there, and it looks like that's about 7 feet, which is typical. So that's 84 inches. That's pretty typical for the height of a door. And you'll notice that's where this arch starts, right? So that's the same thing you'd see over there on that door if I were to move in and measure from there. So 7 feet, that's where I'm gonna start. So that's 84 inches, just to be consistent with the way we're measuring. And then I'm gonna come in here, and I'll go from the center all the way up to the top. Just pin out of my hand. So the way you do this is you pull this tape measure out like that, right? And you put it down on the ground, and then you sort of push your thumb against it, and then you pull back with your hand like this, and let it sort of climb up like that, right? And you can move your other hand up, and then hold it and pull back like I'm doing there, and push up again. And you can just kind of keep doing that like this, and you can go really high that way. So that's 119 inches, right? So that's about almost 10 feet. Call it, yeah, 119. 120 would be 10 feet, right? So I'm gonna make a couple of observations here. One is, where's the height of the door, the top of this frame here? That's about 7 feet, so that's at about 85 inches. And we're gonna assume that's about the same as where the change, the arch starts. And we go up to 119. So 85, 119. Those are the two things I'm gonna mark out. So 84, 85, give or take, right? And then we'll call that the total right there. This is gonna be 119. Okay, so that's that whole height. And then it's gonna be different on the inside, because if you look at this, you'll see this slopes back. So I'm gonna have a different dimension up there. So I'm gonna do that same trick, except now I don't have a wall to help me. So I'm gonna hold this where it is and just keep pushing this thing up, and I'll grab it with my hand. And it's windy out here, so it might fall over, but you just kind of keep trying, right? Hold it like that, and then you just sort of pull, and you see that goes up to 124. So there's about a 5-inch difference there. So I'm gonna do the whole height, and I can do it like this. Here's a little symbol for that. That's a spot height, and we'll call that 124. Okay, so that's the whole height of this thing. And then you do the same thing with this other stuff, right? So this one, do that same thing up to there. It goes up to 82. And then this little parapet on top, or the pediment, I guess you'd call it, is it's not a parapet. I think you call that a pediment. 88 and a half. So 82, 88 and a half for that little thing on top, right? So look here, and we'll call that, I'll do that little symbol again right there, 82. And then I'm gonna make a little detail here, right? And this will be my little pediment thing, and there's the window. And I'll call this, sorry, pediment. I'm probably getting that wrong. I'd need to go back and look at my dictionary, but it's one of these funky little details. So that was 82. I forget what this height was, but while I'm at it, I'm gonna get that dimension and this one, and then that'll give me a typical detail for this thing I can probably count on. So that's 5 out there, and then what is it there? 6 and a half, right? So we'll call that 6 and a half and 5. So I can repeat this, and I'll call that typical. So that's everywhere that one of these is going to show up. It's going to look like that. Okay, so I would repeat that on all these other little, facades, right? And then make notes about things like, let's go to another one over here. Like on this one, for example, what do my windows look like? Well, that's a 4-pane. So that's going to be like this, and I would measure that and just get a sense of where those are on center, right? Like that. So I'd have a measurement there and there. Same thing here. So I've got 6 panes in this one. So these are divided like so, with one in the middle, right? Same thing over here. That's this one. I've already done that on this note. Measure all this stuff too. And don't forget where the where this stuff starts. So that brick is a 15-inch high strip all the way around. So I'll just randomly pick one of these and I'll say, okay, there's that brick, 15 inches typical. And that's a note I can just follow along here, okay? Yeah, so let's keep going. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a typical door detail. So I'm gonna need to draw this, and I wanna know where I'm looking at. So let's talk about this one here. So I'm gonna make a little mark like this to tell me that's a detail, and I'll call that D1, okay? So that's to keep track of where I'm at here. All right, now I'm gonna draw this in plan, thinking about this as a plan, okay? So I see what's going on here. I've got this, that's my wall, and then it meets this rounded part right there. So that's gonna look like this. And then there's a little molding, and then there's another thing right there, right? So this would be the wood part, and now I'm looking at something, this is like a metal frame. So that goes out and in, right? I'm looking at it from this point of view right here. Then I've got the door, and the door's on a hinge, right? And I can see it hinges out like this. Then my door starts here, like that, and there's the glass. And then I'm gonna go around to the inside and see what's happening here. So I can see that meets it at a butt, right? So it's like this. And then my frame comes inside, out a little bit, out like that. And then it's a little bit rounded, and then there's the interior. So that is my detail that I'm working on right here. So let's go back around to the front and start measuring. So now I'm gonna get this, and I'll say, okay, that's about, I'm kind of eyeballing it now, that's about 3 inches. So I'm just gonna start getting these sort of things like that. So that is 3. Then I'll get this depth here, which is about, kind of eyeballing it once again, that's about 1.5. And then I'll just go back here and give myself a long string of dimensions, okay? So from there to there, 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 and there. So that first one is 1.5, right? Then this next little part right there, I'm kind of eyeballing it from the side. It's about 1 inch. The next one is 1. That right there, eyeballing it once again, that's about 1.5. 1 1/2. Then I can measure here. It's about 1/2 inch, so from this glass surface to this. I'm gonna make that note here, 1/2. I'm gonna assume it's the same on the other side, and then I'll measure the thickness of the door. It's about 2. So then right here, that's 2, right? Then I'll get this. It's about 1. Make that note right here, 1 inch. And then that's gonna, another inch. And then that's about 3 up there. So we'll do another one like this, 3 inches. And then that depth right there, this is also 1 inch. And there you have it. So now I have a detail I can use to understand the typical condition of what's going on with this door. And I'll do that same thing all around here with the windows, inside and outside. Make note of stuff like this, right? Like if I were gonna draw this detail for this window, it would be something like this, right? And it comes out, and I've got that little thing. A lot of this is gonna be kind of overkill, you know, like I wouldn't go too far with that stuff as far as getting an as-built of this kind of project, but just keep this in mind, right? Like you're gonna get these little details, you're gonna measure this stuff so that you can represent it properly in the plan. You don't need to, you're not gonna be drawing details, but you're gonna be drawing basic conditions of what's going on. So you would need to understand, okay, like that, 4 inches, you know, and then you measure it from the inside, you'll get a wall thickness that way, and so on. All right, now I need to know what the wall thickness is here, and that's not always easy to do, so we're gonna figure it out by measuring around the window frames on both sides here, okay? So if I look over here, it's a little bit clearer. I'll get that, and then I got 4 inches, okay? So from the inside wall to the edge of the window frame, that's 4 inches. So I'm gonna draw that, make a little detail of that here. Always pay attention to what you're drawing, right? Like where's this stuff gonna be on your plan? So I'm looking right here. So I'll do another little detail call out, and call that D2. And then I'm gonna go to my detail page here. So D2, this is how I'm gonna find my wall thickness. It's like this, that, and then there's a little bump out. And then if I look outside, it slopes back. So it's like this, right? And there's the glass. And I'm gonna get all these dimensions, and they're gonna tell me what all this is, right? So that first one was 4. I'm gonna look at this, and that's gonna be like probably a 1/4 of an inch, if that, less than that. So we're not even gonna factor that in. It'll just be, we'll call that 4.5 to the glass. To this part right here, 4.5. I'll go outside. And if I look down here and sort of eyeball it to where I can kind of see what I'm doing, that's about 4. So we're gonna call this 4 to the glass right there. So the whole depth is gonna be 8.5. That's an estimate, but it's close enough for what we're doing. All right, so for measuring interiors, it's kind of the same idea. So I would take my floor plan here and break it out into a new drawing and just go wall by wall. So what we'd have is, we know the basic shape of the outside is something like this. We just do that to start, and then we look around and draw what we see. So the first thing you notice is that there's a wall in here, right? With an opening, and there's this alcove for the Coke machine and all this stuff. So we'll start to draw that. Yeah. So there's a wall here, and then an opening that goes into this corridor to that door wall here. So start with that, and then we'll get windows here, here. Look over there and see it slopes in, right? On the outside, we already measured that detail right there, and so on. And you might need to do this multiple times, but the thing to remember is that it's all just the same stuff. You're doing the same technique, right? You measure this like this, you know, you get the window heights. The stuff has to match up from the inside to the outside. Then I'll show you one more tool here, which is a laser measure. So if you can see this thing, you turn it on, and then you hit this little measure button, and it gives you a measurement from the bottom here to whatever the top is hitting. So put this down on the floor, and then I click the button twice. It gives me a measurement. So it tells me it's 11 feet. So I know the interior ceiling height, if I look at this, that's 11 feet. Give myself a little spot dimension there. 11 feet ceiling. Right? You can do the same thing from place to place on the inside. So I can look all the way over there at that wall from here, measure that, click it twice, and that is 12 feet. And that can't be right, because we're much further away than that. Let's try that again. Oh, I see. So this place isn't square. So if you look over there, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little red light. It's a laser. I gotta move that until I see what it's actually measuring, which in this case is way over there. Right? It's 32 feet, right? So 32 feet from the corner. Probably do that from the corner. That's the smart way to do it. Click it once to get that laser, and then get it again. 32'6". So that's really helpful. That means I can go from this corner to here, 32'6", and that's gonna help me understand the shape of this thing, because it's not square. It looks square in my drawing, but it's not. It's this funky shape. That's gonna be super helpful to know that. And that's kind of the name of the game. You just sort of go around and get measurements that way. You know, you wanna get countertops. Don't get too much detail, but you know, you need to know, okay, that's 34 inches deep. This one changes over here, like that. It's less deep, shifts that way. You measure this stuff like that and you draw it in your plan. And you're gonna have multiple drawings with all these little details in them. And you're gonna break out, say like, okay, there's my, look at this counter over here. It's like this and this. There's a little wing wall that comes out like that, right? And I'm gonna know, all right, that's 24, that's 38, or whatever it was, right? You might need to do more breakout drawings, but you're doing dozens of sketches, right? Lots and lots of sketches, lots of dimensions. You know, the interiors understand the heights of all that stuff. And of course, don't worry about back of house. We'll estimate that kind of thing. Go in whatever bathroom you can get into. And you want to measure the just the centers of things. So think of furniture, for example. You just want to locate that. It's the same thing with plumbing fixtures. So you're going to go, okay, so from the edge of this wall to right here, it's about 32 inches to the center of this table, right? And it's not fixed. You don't even need to worry about that if it's not fixed. But if it is, just get the centers of things to understand where they are. And of course, remember to buy lunch as a token of your gratitude for the business letting you get in their way all day.